Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As promised, today I will be revealing the personal statement that got me into UCL and Warwick. If you are new to this channel, my name is Ziheng. I make videos about university admissions. Sometimes I make reaction videos to my university application outcome. So if you are interested in university admissions or if you are applying to universities next year, then this channel is the right one for you. So today, I am going to film the part 3 of my UCAS application trilogy, showing you the entire process of applying to UK universities. And today we will be focusing on how to write an effective personal statement. So before I start and jump into my personal statement, I want to talk about who am I and why am I qualified to make this video. As I've mentioned at the start of this video, I got offers from UCL and Warwick, and I was also shortlisted for a Cambridge interview. Although I did not get the offer in the end, that's because of my performance at the interview, but I did get rejected by LSE due to my personal statement, which they said wasn't convincing enough. So what we will be doing next is I'm going to go through my personal statement, and as I go through it, I'm going to tell you what I think about it now that I look back. And in the final part of this video, I'm going to talk about what I think are the problems and how I would improve it if I were to start over and write the personal statement again. So without further ado, let us jump into the personal statement. So right now we are at the personal statement page. I am at a Google Docs and I copied and pasted the final draft of my personal statement and show it here. So do not worry, this is the final draft which I submitted to the universities. I did not make any modifications whatsoever. So what we will do now is we're going to go through the personal statement one paragraph at a time, and starting from the introduction until the final paragraph. I'm not going to read the personal statement word by word because I don't want to bore you. If you want to read it yourself, you could always pause the video. I'm just going to briefly summarize each paragraph and what I think about it and how I think it could be improved. So let's start with the first paragraph. The first paragraph, which is the introduction, it is very important for you to grab the attention of who's going to read it. So there's actually a lingo for it in my college. People call it a spark, which is the part where you want to grab the attention of the reader. This is my attempt at it. I talk about my experience debating and my first exposure to the world of economics. In this case, it is a debate regarding a sugar drink tax. So I talk about my experience debating, which is obviously a personal experience. And my aim for this paragraph is to grab attention. Now that I read the personal statement back, I would say that the merit of this paragraph is that it is attention-grabbing and entertaining to read. But the problem about this paragraph is it doesn't show my passion for the cause, which is probably part of the reason why LSE thinks that my personal statement is not convincing enough. Because in the first paragraph, it is the place where you need to show what got you interested in the cause in the first place. So I wasn't really doing that. Basically, I talk about getting the championship at the competition, which is just a flex. Obviously, you can talk about your achievements in the personal statement, but you have to balance that with an explanation of why you are interested in the cause. So I think that's the drawback of this paragraph, which is not showing why you were interested in the cause. Then I move on to the second paragraph, which touches more on my motive of why I want to apply for an economics course. So I talk about my experience fundraising for local nursery homes and tutoring public school students, which inspired me to want to contribute to my community further. But you can see that it's quite dramatic. So I use this word like short-sighted and ineffectual public spending, underprivileged groups, and people couldn't afford adequate education and safely stroll the streets. So those are very strong words. My intention, including those words, is to get an emotional response from the reader. But if you use too bombastic words, it makes the paragraph quite dramatic, and you may come off as being insincere or you're exaggerating things. So using big words is fine, but you don't want to come across as being not sincere enough. Hopefully that is not the case with my personal statement, but this is just what I have to say. If I were to rewrite it again, it might be wiser for me to use some softer words. So that's the second paragraph, and we move on to the body paragraph, which as you can see is the longest. This is the part where I talk about my experience going to workshops held by Oxford University Malaysia Club. I also went to the Cambridge one and the LSE events. So the good thing about being a Malaysian is that you have a bunch of very good alumni who went to the UK before, and they will come back during the summer breaks to talk about their experience applying to universities and give you tips about how you could do better in your own application. The first half of the paragraph is just me talking about what I have learned when I went to these workshops. So for example, I learned about utility functions. and the solo growth model, which was part of the additional reading which I conducted at home. And the second is my additional reading. It is always good for you to include some readings that you do on your own because it shows the admission officer that you are really interested in the course and you are willing to do further readings yourself. So further reading is fine. You could include as many readings in your personal statement. There wouldn't be much of a problem. However, it is sometimes good for you to include some more popular books and to use less books that nobody really knew, but you just came across them in your Cambridge or LSE reading list. So the reason I say that is because if you include these less well-known readings, so for example the book, The New Labour Experiment, it is more of an academic read, which very few people know about. It was more like an academic research. If you really think about it, it's quite weird that a normal student like you and me would suddenly go and read these books in our daily lives. It might come across as being pretentious, that you're doing it just because you want to write a personal statement. So my advice is that you should still read, you should still include further reading into your personal statement, but try to use some more popular or somewhat popular readings that you would have come across in your daily life. So I know one of my friends included Poor Economics, which is quite a popular book, and that way you might come across as being more genuine and interested in the course. But if you include some academic readings, it is okay if you're really interested in the book, and you could write a very good commentary about what you have learned by reading the book. But if not, you're just going to leave a very shallow commentary that doesn't really get to the core, and that way you will come across as being not genuine, that you are faking it. So that's what I have to say about the third paragraph, and let's move on to the next one. So this is the fourth paragraph, which is the part where I want to emphasize on the extracurriculars that I have done in my college and during my gap year. So you could see here that I included my experience writing and pitching my work in competitions, my experience learning about the UN SDGs, as well as my experience attending international maths competitions. In the final sentences, I also included my experience working as part of the student government, and I also talked about what I've learned by undertaking these roles. So here I want to talk about why I included these extracurricular activities in the first place. I talked about UN SDGs for a specific reason because I'm genuinely interested in the topic and I want to show that I have a more modern mindset, that I understand the importance of sustainability. However, I must add here that UN SDG is not exactly related to an economics course. It could be somewhat related if you could make the link clear, and I am sure that in your standard economics course there would be a few electives which talks about the importance of sustainability and how you could achieve that. But you really have to make the link clear. So for example, you could see that this sentence I talk about San Francisco, of the documentaries I've read regarding the city and the state which it was in. The point I want to deliver here is how economics could improve this situation and make the city better. However, I would say that in the case of my personal statement, I did not really do a great job because I did not really succeed in showing the link between how my economics knowledge would be able to solve these problems. And if you want to structure your paragraph this way, you could also include some other topics which aren't part of a standard economics course. For example, this could be linked to public administration or environmental studies. So it is vital for you to create and establish that link. And it is the same with other ECAs, for example, the student council job, as well as the maths competition. It is good that you want to showcase your maths ability or some other commitments which you have undertaken that could show your competence as a student, but always try to establish a link with the course which you are applying for. I feel that for UK university applications, when you write the personal statement, it is mostly about showcasing your academic rigor. You want to show that you are really interested in the course and you are willing to spend time researching into it and show your ability to understand certain concepts about the course. If you want to show off your ECAs, that's fine, but don't do it for its own sake. You still have to show the link between the ECAs which you have done and the course which you are applying for, or else it will sound very pretentious and it will not add mark to your personal statement. So that's what I have to say regarding the fourth paragraph, and let's move on to the conclusion. So I started this off by a quote from The Little Prince, which was my favorite read for a time. One thing I've done here is that I included another book which I have read, which is Economics in One Lesson by Hazlitt. But now that I think back at it, I think that was quite unnecessary, because if you want to include another book which you have read into your personal statement at the conclusion I don't think it's a very wise thing to do because you won't be able to explain what you have learned from the book very well in the final paragraph. And if you don't explain it, it will seem like you are only adding it to impress the admission officer. And if you don't show your academic journey and what you've gained by reading the book, it will sound very empty and artificial because it seems like you are just adding it to show that you really read a lot regarding the topic, but it is not genuine at all. So I definitely don't recommend you adding another book into your conclusion section unless you're able to explain it very well. At last, the final sentence is just to wrap out the entire personal statement. I would say that this sounds quite artificial. If I were to rewrite it, I'm probably going to include some sentences which are more personal, for example, some life experiences, to reinforce my desire to study for the course. So that's it for my personal statement, and right now we're going to move on to my reflection regarding how I've done and what could be improved. Right, so now I want to talk about what I think are the issues with my personal statement and how I could improve it if I were to rewrite the personal statement again. The first major problem which I could think of is that my personal statement sounded too artificial. It wasn't personal enough. I did not share any personal life experience, which really demonstrated my passion for the course. So that's a very unwise thing to do because even if you are very passionate about the course, you still have to think of some life experiences and show how they really motivated you to apply for the course. So a friend of mine wrote a very good personal statement, and this is what he wrote. He basically described his experience growing up in a very small town, how the small town didn't receive the investment that it needs. Then he went to my country's capital, Kuala Lumpur, and saw that the city is always very vibrant and gets all the investment that it needs. So he was very intrigued by what separated a big metropolitan city from a very small town and why one does get the investment and why another doesn't get the investment. So this is just one very basic example, but it shows how you are personally intrigued by the topic and what you would like to study further. The most important message is this: you want to seem sincere and you want to show the true reason of why you are studying for the course. And most importantly, you want to show your passion. It is very important that you need to spark the attention of the reader right from the very start. But while you do that, you also need to demonstrate the passion and personal reasons for wanting to study for the course, or else your personal statement is going to sound too artificial and empty. So how I would improve the personal statement if I were to start over again? Firstly, I'm going to include a very important personal experience which really shows why I want to study for the course. It really could be anything, and it's up to you of what reason you want to provide. But I think it is crucial to include a personal experience in the first or second paragraph, which really outlines the reason why you want to apply for the course. And I'm talking about something very deep, not just because your parents force you to, or you want to earn huge income. That's not enough. So you need to show how the course personally related to you and explain how the knowledge gained from the course would be able to carry you further in life. Another thing you need to do is to share more regarding your academic journey. Personal statement is not a race for you to include as many extracurricular activities or talk about how many books you've read. The important thing to do is that after you have a significant experience like reading a book or attending a convention or a workshop, talk about your academic journey, talk about what you've really learned from that experience. And don't just provide a very monotonous and brief description of what you've done at the event. It is not really about what you did, but it's more about what you've learned. So one thing I would advise here is to just cut down the ECAs, especially the ones that are not related to your course. I am a gap year student. I've done the university application twice in my life, and I would say that only by combining your real interest and passion, as well as your exploration of the course, could you write a very good, effective, and convincing personal statement. So now we're reaching the end of this video. I want to say that university admissions is not exactly a simple journey, and if you are just starting out, I understand that it could be daunting, and if you make some mistakes, it might cause you a lot of trouble, like it has done for me. Now, if you go on YouTube, you could see a lot of success examples, like people writing marvelous personal statements and getting into all universities which they have applied to. While it does happen, it doesn't happen to the majority of us. If you have zero experience with university admissions, then you'll have to learn and pick things up by yourself. I hope this video is helpful for your university application process. And if it does help, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.